Have you ever wondered what makes a woman truly royal? Not in the sense of crowns, jewels, or palaces, but in the eyes of the one who created the heavens and the earth. What gives a woman a status that surpasses worldly thrones? What secret qualities transform her from just another name in this world into a queen in the sight of Allah? Imagine a life where every sacrifice, every tear, every hidden act of patience is written in the eternal records as a mark of nobility. A woman who may never be recognized by people, yet her value shakes the heavens. This is the royalty that no society can strip away, the honor that is not dependent on wealth, beauty, or fame, but on lessons hidden in the folds of life, lessons only the heart can recognize and the soul can carry. And perhaps as you sit here listening, you too are carrying those hidden keys within you, waiting to be unlocked. If these words reach your heart, then allow this message to reach others too. Share it with those you love, because one sentence may change a life. And if you are new here, join this journey of reminders by subscribing so that every reflection draws us closer to Allah together. Imagine a woman sitting alone after a long day. The world around her is loud, yet her heart feels heavy in silence. She has faced words that cut deeper than knives, expectations she could never meet, and struggles she never asked for. She looks into the mirror and wonders if her efforts are seen, if her tears are noticed, if her sacrifices mean anything. In that very moment when the weight feels unbearable, there is an unseen honor wrapping around her. The honor of silent strength, the kind that only Allah knows, the kind that turns an ordinary woman into a queen. Silent strength is not about being loud in resilience, nor is it about pretending that pain doesn't exist. Silent strength is when a woman whispers her grief into the darkness of the night, placing it in the hands of the one who created the night itself. It is when she holds her tongue from complaining to people, but lifts her hands in dua to Allah. It is when she endures what others may never understand, and yet her heart beats with patience, not because she is weak, but because she knows her Lord is watching. The royalty of a woman in Islam is not in outward power, but in this hidden endurance. The Prophet, peace be upon him, once said that those who are patient in trials will be rewarded without measure. Without measure, not by numbers, not by limits, but by the generosity of the most generous. So when a woman holds back her frustration, when she swallows her anger, when she chooses to remain dignified even in the face of disrespect, she is not losing. She is earning, she is gathering treasures that no hand can steal, no insult can erase, no pain can undo. Think of the women who came before us. Maryam, the mother of Isa, stood alone when the world turned against her. Her silent strength was in trusting Allah's word, even when accusations filled the air. Khadija, the beloved wife of the Prophet ﷺ, carried him with comfort when the entire city rejected his message. She never raised her voice to argue with the doubters. Her strength was quiet, unshaken, filled with faith. And Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet, peace be upon him, lived a life of simplicity, yet her heart was filled with light that outshone palaces. Each of these women held silent strength, and in it they held royalty. Now reflect on your own life. How many times have you endured something silently? How many moments have you held back tears in front of others, but let them fall only before Allah? Do you realize that every one of those tears is a key, a hidden lesson that is writing your story of dignity? A queen is not crowned in gold, she is crowned in patience. A queen is not served by armies, she is served by the mercy of her Lord. A queen does not walk with arrogance, she walks with humility, but her worth is elevated above the arrogance of those who hurt her. Silent strength also teaches surrender. It is the acceptance that not every battle needs to be fought in words. Sometimes the most powerful victory is walking away, not in defeat, but in trust that Allah will defend your honor better than you ever could. When a woman chooses silence over gossip, when she chooses patience over revenge, when she chooses trust over despair, she is holding on to a key that unlocks her true nobility. And perhaps the most beautiful part of this hidden strength is that it is recorded when no one else is looking. People may never know the struggles you face, the insults you bear, the sacrifices you make. They may even misjudge you, thinking your silence is weakness. But in the unseen realm, every moment is being written. Angels are documenting your patience. The Lord of the worlds is preparing a reward beyond imagination. And on the day of judgment, when every secret is revealed, your silent strength will shine brighter than crowns, and the world will finally see who the true queens were. So if you feel unnoticed, if you feel your patience is invisible, remember, it is not. Every sigh, every withheld word, every restrained tear is being counted. You are not losing, you are rising. And the more you trust Allah in the silence, the higher your throne becomes in His sight. And from this silent strength flows the next lesson. Because when a woman learns to trust Allah in her private pain, she also learns not to live for the approval of people. She realizes that pleasing others can never give her the peace that pleasing her Lord does. That, my sister, is the next hidden key of royalty. There is something profoundly beautiful about the patience that no one sees. The kind of patience that is not broadcast to the world, not paraded as an achievement, but kept hidden in the heart like a precious jewel. Silent strength is not weakness, it is discipline. It is the decision to trust Allah's timing instead of rushing to force your own solutions. It is knowing that even when people fail you, when friends turn away, when family doesn't understand, Allah has already measured every detail of your life. And because He measured it, you can rest. The world teaches women that strength means being louder, bolder, and constantly proving themselves. But the Quran teaches a different definition of strength, one that is rooted in tranquility. Allah describes the believing heart as a place where sakina, divine peace, descends. True strength is not in shouting your worth, but in knowing it, in carrying yourself with quiet dignity, because your honor comes from Allah, not from people. A queen does not beg for validation. She knows her crown has already been given by the Most High. Think of the countless women today who suffer silently. The mother who wakes before dawn to prepare for her family, never praised, never thanked, yet her every act is recorded as worship. The young woman facing the pressures of society, judged for her modesty, mocked for her faith, yet she holds firm to her values because she knows Allah is with her. The wife who bears with patience when her marriage tests her more than she imagined, still choosing to remain kind, still choosing to guard her tongue. These women are not weak, they are royal, and their silent strength is more powerful than any throne this world could offer. But why is this strength so hidden? Why does Allah ask us to endure quietly when our hearts crave justice? Because silent strength refines the soul. It teaches humility, it polishes sincerity, and it builds reliance on Allah alone. If every trial brought instant justice, faith would have little meaning. But when a woman remains steadfast in the silence of her test, she proves that her loyalty is not to this world, but to the one who created it. Royalty in Allah's side is not about being served. It is about serving with patience. It is not about wearing crowns of gold. It is about wearing crowns of saber. And every time you choose to restrain your tongue, every time you choose to respond with dignity, every time you raise your hands in dua instead of lowering yourself in revenge, your throne is being built piece by piece in Jannah. And perhaps you don't see it now. Perhaps you feel tired of being silent, tired of being patient, tired of being misunderstood. But remember, the Quran tells us that Allah is with the patient, not later, not only in Jannah, right now. He is with you in every sigh, every unspoken word, every moment of restraint. His company is with you when no one else sees. And what greater honor could there be than knowing that the King of Kings stands beside you in your silence? So carry your struggles with dignity, even if they weigh heavy on your shoulders. Let your tears fall in prayer. Let your complaints be whispered only to Allah. Let your heart be softened but never broken by the world. Because in that choice, you are holding the first hidden key of royalty, the silent strength of trust. And once you taste this strength, you will realize that your life does not need to revolve around pleasing people. That lesson, the freedom from living for others, is the second hidden key that will make a woman royal in Allah's sight. There comes a time in every woman's life when she realizes that no matter how much she gives, no matter how much she sacrifices, there will always be someone who is dissatisfied. You may cook the meal, yet someone will find it lacking. You may offer kindness, yet someone will repay it with ingratitude. You may dress with modesty, yet someone will still judge. If your worth depends on the shifting standards of people, then you will always be chasing shadows. But when your worth is anchored in the pleasure of Allah, then you are unshakable. That is royalty. How many hearts today are restless because they are caught in this endless cycle of pleasing people? The daughter who feels she is never enough for her parents. The wife who feels unappreciated by her husband. The professional who feels the world only values her if she meets its superficial ideals. And yet, no matter how far she stretches herself, peace never comes. Why? Because peace cannot come from the approval of people. Peace comes only from the approval of Allah. The Prophet taught us that whoever seeks the pleasure of Allah, even if it displeases people, Allah will be pleased with them and will cause people's hearts eventually to incline towards them. But whoever seeks to please people at the cost of displeasing Allah, they will never find peace. This is a truth many forget in the rush of daily life. We often think if we just do more, if we just bend a little further, if we just sacrifice one more time, then surely people will love us. Yet the reality is that people's love is fleeting, inconsistent, conditional. But Allah's love is steady, everlasting and unconditional when you turn sincerely to Him. Consider how liberating this is. A queen does not lower her crown for every opinion. A queen does not chase validation from crowds. Her dignity lies in her independence from their whispers. In the same way, a believing woman rises above the noise. She knows that her modesty may be ridiculed, but Allah honors it. She knows that her patience may be unnoticed, but Allah records it. She knows that her sacrifices may be forgotten, but Allah never forgets. And that knowledge is enough to carry her through the heaviest storms. Imagine standing before Allah on the day of judgment and realizing that every single act you did purely for His sake, no matter how small, is magnified beyond measure. The times you chose prayer over popularity, the times you chose honesty over acceptance, the times you chose dignity over compromise. Each one becomes a jewel placed into your crown of faith. People's applause fades, but these jewels remain forever. It is a painful trap, this need for approval. Social media has made it worse, convincing us that our worth is tied to numbers, likes, comments or followers. But how tragic is it to be celebrated online yet forgotten by Allah? And how beautiful is it to be unseen by the world yet cherished in the heavens? A queen in Islam does not measure her success by the eyes of people, but by the gaze of her Lord. And when you free yourself from the need to please people, something extraordinary happens. You begin to live authentically. You no longer wear masks. You no longer water down your faith to fit in. You no longer hide your values for fear of mockery. You stand as you are, a servant of Allah, a believer, a woman of dignity. And in that, you find the deepest peace. This peace cannot be purchased, cannot be faked, cannot be stolen. It comes only from aligning your heart with the one who created it. It is the peace of knowing that if Allah is pleased with you, then it does not matter who is not. And if He is not pleased with you, then no one's approval can save you. This, my sister, is the second hidden key of royalty. To rise above the chains of people's opinions and to anchor your worth in Allah alone. And when this key is unlocked, it opens the door to the next lesson. Realizing that the dunya itself, with all its glitter and temptations, was never meant to define your value. One of the heaviest burdens a woman can carry is the burden of people's opinions. It weighs on her mind when she wakes, it shadows her steps throughout the day, and it lingers in her heart even as she tries to sleep. What will they think of me? Did I say enough? Did I do enough? Am I enough? These questions become chains, wrapping tighter and tighter until the soul feels suffocated. But the truth is, those chains were never placed there by Allah. They are forged by the endless expectations of people. When you live to please people, your joy is never secure. It can be stolen in a moment with a careless word, a cold glance, or a sudden rejection. But when you live to please Allah, your joy is untouchable. It becomes rooted in a soil deeper than the surface of people's moods. It becomes a fountain that flows from within, not a stream dependent on rain from outside. The Quran tells us that the believers are those who say, "Our Lord is Allah," and then they remain steadfast. This steadfastness is not about perfection, it is about direction. It is about choosing Allah first, even when the world demands otherwise. It is about saying no to what displeases Him, even if everyone else says yes. That kind of steadfastness is the crown of a queen, unbending in her loyalty to her Creator. Reflect for a moment. How many times have you changed yourself, not for Allah, but for people who may not even care for you tomorrow? How many times have you compromised your own peace, your own values, your own boundaries, just to gain a smile or avoid criticism? And what did it bring you in the end? Maybe a fleeting relief, maybe a moment of praise, but never lasting satisfaction, because people's approval is like smoke. It rises, it swirls, and then it vanishes. A queen does not run after smoke. She builds her throne on solid ground. She knows her Lord is the one who controls hearts, and if she earns His pleasure, He can turn the hearts of people in her favor when it is best. And if they still turn against her, she knows she has not lost, for she still has Allah. There is a serenity that descends when you finally let go of this chase. Suddenly, you realize you don't need to prove yourself to everyone. You don't need to explain your every choice, justify your every step, or seek applause for your every action. You live with intention, you live with sincerity, and your life becomes lighter because your heart is no longer chained to the unpredictable winds of people's opinions. This does not mean neglecting kindness or disregarding respect or living selfishly. Islam teaches us to be gentle, considerate, and respectful. But there is a difference between being kind for Allah's sake and being enslaved to people's demands. The first brings honor, the second brings humiliation. The first makes you a servant of Allah, the second makes you a servant of society. And no woman destined to be a queen in Jannah should lower herself to such chains. The Prophet ﷺ lived this lesson. Even when his own people mocked him, rejected him, and turned away, he did not chase their approval. He carried his message with dignity, knowing his mission was to please Allah alone. If the messenger of Allah was not universally loved in his time, how could we expect to be? True royalty is not found in being liked by all, but in being true to the one who created all. So let the voices fade, let the opinions scatter, let the whispers of criticism die in the wind. Anchor your soul in Allah's pleasure, and you will rise above them all. That is the second hidden key, the freedom of living for Allah alone. And once this freedom fills your heart, your eyes open to another reality. The dunya itself, with all its fleeting attractions, was never meant to define your worth. A queen does not measure her value by the glitter of temporary crowns. She knows her kingdom lies beyond this world. And this brings us to the third hidden lesson, turning away from the illusions of dunya and embracing the treasures that last forever. The world sparkles with promises. It tells you that if you just achieve this one thing, if you just reach this one goal, if you just obtain this one treasure, then you will finally be happy. It tempts you with beauty that fades, wealth that slips through your fingers, and status that crumbles as soon as people's attention shifts. And many spend their entire lives running after these shadows, only to realize in the end that the dunya was never designed to satisfy the soul. For women especially, the dunya can be a cruel trick. From the time she is young, society whispers, you must look this way, dress this way, earn this much, achieve this title, marry this kind of man. And if she falls short in any area, she is made to feel less, as if her value is incomplete. But Allah never measured a woman by these scales. He never defined her worth by her face, her wealth, or her worldly success. Her royalty in His sight lies in her taqwa, her consciousness of Him, her sincerity, her heart that beats with faith. Think of how temporary everything is. The beauty of youth fades with age. The wealth that once brought excitement becomes a source of anxiety to protect. The status that once made others admire you can vanish overnight. Yet how often do people tie their identity to these fragile things? And when they slip away, so does their sense of worth. But a queen in Islam does not tie her throne to sand. She ties it to the eternal. Her treasure lies in what does not age, what cannot be stolen, what will not fade, her connection to Allah. Imagine standing at the end of your life. Will it matter how many compliments you received? Will it matter how fashionable your clothes were or how many followers you gained? The dunya's applause will not follow you into the grave. The only light that will enter with you is the light of your deeds. And yet, how many sacrifice that light for the dim glow of worldly approval? How many trade away eternal royalty for temporary glitter? The Quran repeatedly reminds us that the life of this world is nothing but play and distraction. A temporary illusion meant to test, not to fulfill. But the one who understands this lesson walks through dunya like a traveler, using what is necessary, but never becoming enslaved by it. And this is what makes her royal. She does not lower her dignity to chase what others worship. She keeps her gaze higher, knowing her true home is not here. This does not mean abandoning responsibilities or rejecting the blessings Allah provides. Islam teaches balance, to work, to earn, to enjoy halal, to build families, to live with dignity. But the difference is this: a queen in Islam uses dunya. She does not let dunya use her. She holds it in her hands, not in her heart. And when she loses it, she does not collapse, because her heart was never chained to it in the first place. So ask yourself, what has the dunya whispered to you? What illusions are you chasing? Are you exhausting your soul to appear perfect in people's eyes? Are you measuring your worth by wealth, by beauty, by possessions that will vanish in a blink? Or are you anchoring your worth in the eternal, in the unseen treasures that grow with every prayer, every act of patience, every moment of sincerity? A queen knows the answer. She chooses to rise above illusions. She wears dunya lightly like a garment she can take off at any time. And her true crown is being prepared for her where no hand can touch it, no time can fade it, no envy can strip it away, in Jannah. And when a woman learns this lesson, something even greater begins to awaken in her heart. A deeper reliance on Allah, a surrender that frees her from fear. That is the fourth hidden key, the secret of true tawakkul. The dunya often disguises itself as comfort, as beauty, as success. It whispers to the heart that one more possession, one more compliment, one more achievement will finally bring peace. But every time you grasp it, it slips through your fingers like sand. And the more you chase it, the more it drains you. This is the nature of dunya. It promises what it cannot deliver. Look at the stories of those who had everything: kings who ruled empires, women who had beauty that drew nations, men who had wealth beyond imagination. Where are they now? Their power is buried beneath the earth, their beauty faded into dust, their wealth scattered in the hands of strangers. Nothing of this dunya lasts. Yet the small acts of worship, the quiet moments of sincerity, the hidden patience, these live forever, carried into the next world as treasures that cannot be lost. There is a wisdom in why Allah made dunya temporary. If it were perfect, we would never long for Jannah. If it were permanent, we would never prepare for eternity. But because it breaks, because it fades, because it disappoints, our hearts are reminded to seek what is lasting. A queen understands this. She sees dunya for what it is: a field, not a palace, a place to plant seeds, not a place to build thrones. Her real throne awaits in the gardens of eternity, where her silent strength, her patience, and her sincerity will bloom into rewards she cannot yet imagine. Consider how dunya plays with the heart of a woman. One day she feels confident because of her appearance. The next day she feels unworthy because of the same mirror. One day she feels proud because of success. The next day she feels broken because success slipped away. Dunya ties her worth to conditions that will always change. But Allah ties her worth to qualities that never fade. Taqwa, patience, humility, sincerity. These are the jewels of her crown. And so the wise woman learns to step back. She wears dunya like a traveler's cloak, useful for the journey but never mistaken as her destination. She uses wealth to serve her family, but she does not let wealth enslave her. She cares for her appearance, but she does not let beauty define her. She works hard in this life, but her heart is always longing for the next. That balance is her nobility. That detachment is her strength. The Prophet reminded us, be in this world as though you were a stranger or a traveler. A traveler does not build palaces on the roadside. She rests, she gathers strength, but she keeps moving because she knows home lies ahead. Likewise, a queen in Islam does not confuse dunya for her kingdom. Her kingdom is with Allah, and every day she walks through this life is a step closer to her throne in Jannah. So when dunya tempts you with illusions, remember, its beauty fades, but your patience shines forever. Its applause dies, but your sincerity echoes eternally. Its treasures rust, but your prayers remain fresh before Allah. Hold dunya in your hands, not in your heart, and you will walk as royalty, even in its fleeting corridors. And from this awareness springs the next hidden lesson. When a woman sees dunya for what it truly is, her heart naturally turns toward reliance on the one who controls all things. She learns that her strength does not come from wealth or status or approval, but from trusting Allah with every step. That, my sister, is the fourth hidden key of royalty, the secret of true tawakkul. There comes a moment in every believer's life when she realizes that her strength has limits. No matter how carefully she plans, no matter how hard she tries, there are doors that remain closed, paths that remain blocked, outcomes that remain out of reach. It is in those moments when human effort reaches its boundary that the heart is invited to discover tawakkul, true reliance on Allah. Tawakkul is not a passive surrender, nor is it an excuse to give up. It is an active trust, a living connection, a decision to walk into the unknown with certainty that Allah has already paved the way. It is tying your camel, as the Prophet ﷺ said, and then leaving the rest in Allah's hands. For the woman who unlocks this secret, tawakkul becomes her crown, invisible to the eyes of people, but radiant in the sight of her Lord. Imagine a woman facing uncertainty. Perhaps her marriage feels unstable, or her children's future worries her, or her livelihood seems fragile. Fear creeps into her heart, whispering that she is alone. But then she remembers, and whoever puts their trust in Allah, He is sufficient for them. She repeats this verse to herself, and slowly the fear melts. Because how could she ever be alone when the Lord of the heavens and the earth is standing with her? Tawakkul is power, but it is also peace. It lifts the shoulders weighed down by anxiety. It calms the mind restless with questions. It soothes the heart that feels lost in uncertainty. When a woman truly relies on Allah, she stops measuring her life by what she cannot control and starts living with gratitude for what she has been given. She realizes that the delays were protections, the rejections were redirections, and the hardships were hidden mercies. Look at the example of Hajar, the wife of Ibrahim. Left in the barren desert with her infant son, she could have collapsed in despair. But instead, she ran between Safa and Marwa, searching, striving, doing her part. And then she relied on Allah, and it was from her tawakkul that the water of Zamzam gushed forth, sustaining generations to come. A woman's trust in Allah became a source of life for the world. That is the royalty of tawakkul. Tawakkul transforms even the smallest acts into treasures. When you take a step in faith, uncertain of what awaits, but certain of who awaits, that step is recorded as trust. When you let go of fear and choose to rely on Allah's promise, your heart is lifted into a station no worldly throne can match. Because a queen is not the one who has everything figured out. She is the one who knows who to turn to when nothing makes sense. But true tawakkul requires letting go of illusions. It requires admitting that control was never yours in the first place. And this is not weakness, this is strength. To surrender to Allah is not to lose power, but to receive it. To trust Allah is not to give up, but to step into a certainty more solid than any plan. And the woman who carries tawakkul carries a secret shield, one that protects her from despair, one that lifts her above fear, one that crowns her with peace no matter what storms surround her. So the next time life feels uncertain, remember this hidden key. Remind yourself that your sustenance was written before you were born, that your tests were chosen with wisdom, that your path is guided by a Lord who is never unjust. And in that remembrance, let your heart rest. Because tawakkul is not just a belief, it is a state of royalty. It is the calm dignity of a queen who knows that her throne is held up not by worldly powers, but by the decree of Allah Himself. And from this secret of tawakkul, the heart naturally moves to the greatest lesson of all, the afterlife. Because when a woman trusts Allah fully in this life, she begins to live not just for today, but for eternity. That is the fifth hidden key, remembering the hereafter, where true crowns and true thrones await. There is a certain dignity that appears on the face of a woman who has surrendered her fears to Allah. Her steps may still be heavy, her days may still be filled with trials, but there is a calmness in her eyes, a quiet assurance in her heart. This is the beauty of tawakkul. It does not remove hardship from life, but it transforms how hardship is carried. It turns storms into lessons, delays into wisdom, and losses into gateways to something greater. When a woman lives with tawakkul, she sees the world differently. She no longer asks, why me? But instead, what is Allah teaching me? She no longer drowns in the uncertainty of tomorrow, because she trusts that the same Lord who sustained her yesterday will sustain her again. She no longer fears being forgotten because she knows she is engraved in the care of the most merciful. That mindset is not ordinary, it is royal. Think of how often life pushes us into corners where no options seem possible. The job is gone, the friendship has ended, the plans have collapsed, and in that moment, many crumble. But the woman who trusts Allah does not see a dead end. She sees a doorway hidden from her eyes. She believes in the unseen help of her Lord, the way the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, believed when they stood outnumbered, yet victorious, because their faith was greater than their fear. This trust does not mean passivity. Tawakkul is not sitting still and waiting for miracles to fall into your lap. It is striving with every ounce of energy and then leaving the outcome in Allah's hands. It is Hajar running between the hills, not sitting idle. It is Musa striking the sea with his staff, not standing frozen in fear. It is Maryam shaking the trunk of the palm tree so that dates would fall, even though she was exhausted. In each story, the action was small, but the trust was immense. And from that trust, miracles descended. So too in your life. Your actions may feel small, a whispered prayer in the night, a step towards halal work even if the income seems less, a choice to remain patient even when the heart wants to break. Each of these may feel ordinary, but when carried with tawakkul, they become extraordinary. Because it is not the size of the action that matters, it is the depth of the trust behind it. And here lies the hidden nobility. A woman who walks with tawakkul is never truly shaken. The winds may bend her, the storms may test her, but her roots are deep. She knows her life is written, her destiny is measured, and her Lord never abandons His servants. This calmness is not the calmness of ignorance, it is the calmness of certainty. And this certainty shines brighter than any crown. The Prophet once said that if you rely on Allah as He truly deserves, He will provide for you as He provides for the birds. They leave their nests in the morning hungry and return in the evening full. Notice, the birds still fly, they still seek, they still work, but their provision is guaranteed. Likewise, when a woman lives with true tawakkul, she still strives, she still tries, but she never allows fear to consume her. She knows her risk is written, her honor is guarded, her reward is safe with Allah. And this brings the heart to its final awakening. Tawakkul does not just change how we live today, it prepares us for the tomorrow that never ends. Because the true reward of trust is not just in this life, but in the life to come. The crowns of patience, the thrones of faith, the eternal companionship of Allah's mercy, all of this awaits the woman who lives her days with trust. And this brings us to the fifth and final hidden key of royalty, remembering the hereafter, where all secrets will be unveiled and where the true queens will be honored for eternity. Every life eventually bends toward its end. The beauty fades, the wealth slips away, the voices of praise grow silent. and the world that once felt so real becomes like a dream. The grave is not far. It waits for every soul, regardless of title, status, or beauty. And in that moment when the soul is carried away, nothing of this dunya will matter. Not the house, not the applause, not the fleeting crowns of this world. Only one question remains. What did you carry for Allah? The hereafter is where true royalty is revealed. The women who were overlooked, the ones who endured in silence, the ones who lived with dignity and faith, even when no one praised them. They will rise on that day adorned in ways the world could never imagine. Their crowns will not be made of gold mined from the earth, but of patience polished by hardship. Their garments will not be woven by human hands, but by the mercy of their Lord. Their honor will not be decided by people's opinions, but by the judgment of the most just. Imagine the scene. A woman stands before Allah and her life is opened like a book. The people who mocked her are no longer relevant. The wealth she once lost no longer matters. The opinions she once feared vanish like smoke. What shines instead are the moments she chose Allah over dunya. The nights she cried in prayer, the times she forgave when she could have taken revenge. The choices she made to guard her modesty, her dignity, her faith. Each one now appears as a jewel, decorating her in a glory the world could not give her. The Quran describes women of Jannah as honored, dignified, pure, and everlasting. But this honor is not random. It is earned through the hidden lessons carried in dunya, the silent strength of patience, the freedom from pleasing people, the detachment from illusions, the trust in Allah's plan. Each of these keys becomes a step on the staircase leading to her eternal throne. And perhaps the most comforting truth is this: no sacrifice goes unnoticed. Not a single tear, not a single prayer, not a single act of patience is forgotten. Even the smallest moment of faith is magnified in the hereafter. The Prophet ﷺ said that Allah does not wrong anyone. Even the weight of a mustard seed will be brought forth. If that is the case, then how could your years of hidden endurance, your quiet trust, your silent prayers ever be lost? A queen in dunya may have fame, wealth and power, but all of it is temporary. A queen in Allah's sight may walk unnoticed on the earth, but her kingdom in the hereafter is eternal. And on the day when the veils are lifted, when every secret is unveiled, the true queens will rise and the world will see who was truly honored all along. The dunya was never your palace, it was your test. Your palace is waiting, where rivers flow beneath, where sorrow cannot enter, where the crown never fades. And that is why remembering the hereafter is the final hidden key. It shifts your focus, it lifts your burdens, it reminds you that every struggle has a purpose and every sacrifice has a reward. It tells you that you are not living for this world, you are preparing for eternity. And so, my sister, carry your silent strength with dignity. Free yourself from the chains of people's opinions. Let go of the illusions of dunya. Anchor your trust in Allah. And never forget the life that waits beyond this one, where your true throne stands ready, built by the patience of your heart and the sincerity of your faith. Picture this moment. The day of judgment has begun. The sun is brought close. People are drowning in their sweat. Voices tremble in fear, and every soul is desperate for mercy. Titles mean nothing now. Beauty has faded. Wealth has vanished. All that remains are the deeds carried in the heart. And in the midst of this scene, certain women rise with light shining from their faces, their patience illuminating the darkness, their crowns placed upon their heads not by people, but by angels. These are the true queens. They were not the ones the world applauded. They were not the ones whose names filled headlines. Many of them were unknown, uncelebrated, overlooked. Yet Allah knew them. He saw every tear, every sacrifice, every whispered prayer in the stillness of night. And now, in front of all creation, He honors them with a dignity that no earthly crown could compare to. They walk into Jannah not because of worldly beauty or status, but because they held on to the hidden keys that made them royal in His sight. Imagine entering Jannah and finding palaces more beautiful than anything you ever dreamed. Gardens where sorrow cannot enter. Companionship where betrayal cannot touch. Rivers flowing beneath, fruits offered without effort. peace surrounding every step. And then you realize every sacrifice, every moment of silent strength, every time you chose Allah over dunya, it was all worth it. The pain fades, but the reward remains. The hardship disappears, but the honor is eternal. This is the promise of Allah, and Allah never breaks His promise. He has written for His believing servants a reward that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no heart can imagine. The dunya asks you to compromise for its temporary crowns, but Allah asks you to be patient, to be faithful, to be sincere, and in return, He gives you a crown that will never fade. So carry these lessons in your heart. Remember the silent strength of trust when no one else sees but Allah does. Remember the freedom of living for Him alone, not for the fleeting approval of people. Remember the illusion of dunya and do not chain your heart to what is destined to fade. Remember the secret of tawakkul, the power of handing over your fears to the one who controls everything. And above all, remember the hereafter, the place where all these hidden lessons come together, where the true queens will rise and be honored forever. My sister, you may feel unseen now. You may feel small in the eyes of people, ordinary in the eyes of society, but in the sight of Allah, your patience, your sincerity, your trust and your faith can elevate you higher than kings and queens of this world. Carry yourself with dignity, guard your heart with faith, and never forget, a queen in Islam holds on to these hidden keys, and in doing so, she secures her throne in Jannah. Every queen leaves a legacy. Some leave monuments of stone, some leave treasures of wealth, some leave stories sung by generations. But the legacy of a believing woman is not carved into stone or written in gold. It is carried in hearts, in prayers, in the ripple of good deeds that spread long after she has returned to her Lord. Think of the women who came before us. Hajar left a legacy that every pilgrim honors in the Sa'i between Safa and Marwa. Maryam left a legacy of chastity, faith, and devotion that still inspires every believer. Khadija left a legacy of loyalty and comfort to the Prophet ﷺ that shaped the foundation of Islam itself. These women were not seeking fame, yet their sincerity echoed into eternity. Their royalty was not in worldly crowns, but in the legacy they left for generations to come. Now think of your own life. What legacy are you building? Every kind word you speak to your children, every moment of patience you show your spouse, every sacrifice you make for your family's faith, these are seeds. You may not see them bloom in your lifetime, but Allah will water them and their fruits will appear when you need them most, in the hereafter. A believing woman is royal not just because of what she carries for herself, but because of what she passes on. Her dua for her children may protect them decades after her death. Her teaching of Quran may echo through generations she never meets. Her hidden acts of charity may support strangers she never sees. She may leave this world quietly, unnoticed, but her deeds remain alive, rising to the heavens long after her soul has departed. This is the sixth hidden key, the legacy of faith. To live in such a way that your presence brings others closer to Allah, and your absence continues to guide them even when you are gone. And what greater royalty could there be than to leave behind not just memories, but sadaqah jariyah, ongoing charity, ongoing rewards, ongoing blessings that follow you into your grave and beyond. There is a saying, you may leave this world, but what you planted in it will continue to grow. For a believing woman, this is not just poetry, it is a promise. Her acts of faith become rivers that flow long after her name is forgotten on earth, but remembered in the heavens. Imagine a mother teaching her child to recite a verse of Quran. Decades later, that child recites it in their prayer, passes it to their own children, and the chain continues for generations. The mother may be gone, but every letter recited is a jewel placed into her crown. That is a legacy. Imagine a woman who gave in charity quietly without anyone knowing. The masjid she helped build, the Quran she purchased for someone, the meal she placed in a hungry hand, all of it continues to earn her reward long after her departure. That is a legacy. Imagine a wife who showed patience in her marriage, who carried herself with dignity even when tested. Her children grew up watching her endurance, her strength, her reliance on Allah. They carried those lessons into their own lives, shaping families of faith. That patience did not die with her. It lives on in generations. That is a legacy. True queens are not remembered because of the palaces they lived in, but because of the light they left behind. And in Islam, every woman is given the chance to leave such a legacy. You do not need wealth or fame or influence. You only need sincerity. You only need to plant seeds of goodness in your home, in your community, in your relationships. And Allah, in His mercy, will cause those seeds to grow beyond what you can imagine. The Prophet ﷺ told us that when a person dies, their deeds end except for three: ongoing charity, beneficial knowledge, and a righteous child who prays for them. Notice how many women are at the center of these three. They raise children who pray, they spread knowledge in their homes and communities, they give charity even if it is small. A believing woman's entire life can be a stream of sadaqah jariyah, flowing endlessly, feeding her with rewards long after she has left this dunya. So never belittle the impact of what you do. The bedtime story of Quran you read to your child, the dua you whisper for your family, the patience you show in silence, the act of kindness you offer a stranger, each is a seed of legacy. Perhaps no one else will notice, perhaps even you will forget, but Allah does not forget. And on the day of judgment, when you stand before Him, you will see a garden grown from seeds you once thought were small. This is the final hidden key: to live not just for yourself, but to leave behind echoes of faith, to build not only for dunya, but to plant for akhirah, to understand that your royalty in Allah's sight is not only in who you are, but in what you leave behind. And so, my sister, carry your silent strength with honor. Free yourself from people's approval. See dunya for the illusion it is. Trust in Allah with every breath. Remember the hereafter that awaits you, and build a legacy that outlives you. A garden that continues to bear fruit long after you are gone. That is the mark of a true queen in Islam. And when your soul returns to its creator, the angels will greet you with words more beautiful than any crown, more precious than any throne. Peace be upon you for the patience you endured. Enter Jannah for what you used to do. That is your kingdom, that is your throne, that is your eternal legacy. Ya Allah, most merciful, most loving, we turn to you with hearts that are weak, yet yearning for strength. We ask you to grant every sister listening the crown of patience, the garment of dignity, and the light of faith that will never fade. Ya Allah, protect their hearts from the chains of people's opinions, free them from the illusions of dunya, and anchor them firmly in trust of your plan. Ya Allah, honor them in this world with peace, and honor them in the hereafter with Jannah. Make their silent tears a witness for them, their sacrifices a means of forgiveness, and their hidden acts of sincerity treasures that await them on the day of judgment. Ya Allah, make them queens in your sight, not because of wealth, not because of beauty, not because of fame, but because of their taqwa, their sabr, and their love for you. Let their legacy be gardens of sadaqah jariyah, their children righteous servants, and their homes filled with your mercy. Ya Allah, forgive their shortcomings, raise their ranks, and write for them a throne in Jannah al-Firdaus, close to you, where no sorrow can touch them and no crown can be taken away. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.